Eagles are heading for the Super Bowl at a rematch with the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52.
We're going to Minneapolis, baby. Let's go. Let's go. We're going to the Super Bowl. 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 Hey! Be safe, Billy. Be safe. Love your neighbor. Don't mess the place up. Woo! We've been counted out for 5 weeks straight. We came through so much adversity, injuries. People saying Nick couldn't do it. People saying the defense wasn't strong enough. We just kept prevailing. We kept pushing through. We love all the Dallas. We thank y'all because y'all didn't do nothing but make us stronger, make us closer, make our bond way tougher than what it already was. So we're going to the Super Bowl now. Now they're in trouble now. Let's go! Let's go!
Everyone doubted us. Everyone is out there talking and denying us, man. There's no more denying.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Keep being us underdogs. We don't keep doing nothing but winning. You're going to put us as underdogs again? We're going to show you again, that's it. That's all we're going to do.
The Eagles' journey to the NFC Championship has been a remarkable ride that has seen enough plot twists to satisfy even the best of suspense writers. But like most stories, its origins come from another story's end.
We kick off this show with this news alert. Chip Kelly out as Eagles head coach. Just after 7 p.m., the Eagles sending out a release announcing the Birds chairman and CEO Jeffrey Lurie had released Kelly of his duties along with the team's vice president of player personnel, Ed Manowitz.
I was telling anyone who would listen to me today that he was gone. I didn't think it would happen until Monday, but you know, Jeff Lurie's owned this team for, what, 21, 22 years now, and we think of Jeff as a real patient guy, a guy who's going to really take the extra year like he did with Andy, but I think he's running out of patience. And I think this football team was embarrassing him. I think Chip Kelly was embarrassing him. I think he looked at the product and you just mentioned that first Redskins game, his first year. And then you think where this team has gone from that Redskins game to the Redskins game Saturday night here at the Lake, and you see a team that's just spiraling downhill. 4 of the last 6 weeks, this team got embarrassed, losing by, what, 45-17 to Tampa, 45-21 to Detroit, was a 38-17 to Arizona, 38-24 the other night to a division opponent in your own stadium with the division on the line. These are scores that you don't lose by 14, 18, 27, 31 points maybe once every 5 years. This happened 4 out of the last 6 games, and I think Jeff Lurie got to the point where he was like, I don't want this guy near my football team anymore.
After shocking the NFL world with the news that Chip Kelly would not be retained as the head coach, Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie addressed a packed house at the NovaCare complex and explained his decision.
With a coach and with almost any key executive, it's important to really carefully evaluate and analyze, not to be impatient, not to react to a series of games. So every season I have to carefully look over everything, and this was really a 3-year evaluation. 3-year evaluation of where we're heading, what is the trajectory, what is the progress or lack thereof, and what did I anticipate for the foreseeable future.
With 1 game still left to play, Lurie's timing was curious. He wanted to get a jump start on the head coaching search, give Chip a chance to view the marketplace, and the most important reason, his players.
I've already started that process. I had a meeting, players-only meeting with them today. This morning, there's going to be more this afternoon with certain players. I'm going to meet again with them on Monday. In today's world, especially at least the way I like to run things, I want to hear from the players. I want to engage them and have them understand what they felt was lacking. I need to understand, have them understand and take accountability, but also at the same time be a sponge for what is leadership like in today's football world.
I didn't see it coming. I don't know if anyone did. When I got the news last night, I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was shocked. No one had an inkling. The coaches didn't have an inkling what was going on.
If anybody knew, we didn't know they knew.
Trey Burton called me, said, "Did you see what happened?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I got a text from one of my teammates. I was taking a nap, and I woke up, and I was like, "What?" And I checked Google, and there it was.
I mean, something was off, but like you say, I don't know if it was a disconnect with Chip. I mean, I can't honestly answer that. It's just that's what happens in football.
I can only speak for myself, and I had I communicated with him just fine.
That's what I think what the biggest thing was. The power struggle, just the front office, I don't think they were happy. Chip and Howie weren't happy together. Didn't deal well. There was just a lot of tension up there, which didn't need to happen because when you feel it up there, it does trickle down to the team. And ultimately, I think that's what led to him being released. We just knew it wasn't, sunshine and rainbows.
With Chip Kelly out of the picture, Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie set his sights on finding a new head coach, making sure to include one significant piece of criteria.
Lastly is you've got to open your heart to players and everybody you want to achieve peak performance. And I would call it a style of leadership that values information, all the resources that are provided, and at the same time values emotional intelligence. And I think in today's world of the way businesses are run and sports are run, that a combination, and it's not easy to have, a combination of all those factors creates the best chance to succeed.
There's no shortages of names that have already been linked.
Deuce Staley, Pat Shermer,
Mike Shanahan,
Doug Pederson,
Paul Gunther,
Sean McDermott,
Hugh Jackson,
Doug Marrone, her office, Ben Rudolph, Chucky, whatever you want to call him.
Our very own Reuben Frank confirmed that the Eagles will talk with Chiefs offensive coordinator Doug Pederson on Sunday. The interview will take place a day after the Chiefs playoff game against the Texans. That's tomorrow at 4. Pederson was the Eagles starting quarterback for 9 games in 1999 and was a member of Andy Reid's coaching staff from 2009 to 2012.
Gosh, it went great. It was a great Lurie, and just a chance to talk with them and sit down with them. And again, it's got a lot of respect for the organization and what they're doing there. It's an honor, obviously, to be in the running, I guess, with something like that. They're still in the process of they have, from what I'm hearing, they have stopped all their interviews, and now it's just a matter of just them getting together collectively and making a decision.
How'd the trip go? Good. It's not a matter of if, but when the Eagles will hire Chiefs offensive coordinator Doug Pederson as their next head coach.
Did they make the right move remains to be seen. But Jeffrey Lurie was true to his word. He said he wanted a guy in here who would be a players type guy. And that's what Doug Pederson is.
It feels like they had to do this now. All these other coaches are being hired. Chip's getting hired. Tampa Bay's taking care of the situation. And they were like, we can't wait until Saturday night, depending on what the Chiefs do against the Patriots, to make some sort of announcement. They don't have to make this announcement. My question to you guys is, when you take a look, you have a piece of paper, you have 2 resumes, Pat Shermer on the other. Pat Shermer has twice as much NFL experience. He probably has a Rolodex of other NFL coaches that he knows that's thicker than Doug Pederson's. He knows the quarterback. He's been in the system. He knows the organization. Why don't you go with Pat Shermer over Doug Pederson? I think if you look at the resume, you're like, there's not a whole lot of winning there as an offense coordinator or head coach. And maybe it's better just to take a guy that's tabula rasa. And let's just give him a fresh start.
I think he understands, kind of the personalities that we have in the locker room, and I think that's the first important step of being a head coach. And I think he does that tremendously well, and I'm excited about what he does in the future up there in Philly. I think he deserves it, and I think Philly should be excited.
Doug Pederson, man, we love him just as much as any other coach on here. We know how important he is and how valuable he is, and obviously I wish the best of luck with him over there in Philly, and I know he'll be a great coach.
Was this the guy they wanted, or is this the guy they could get? Because you look at the 6 candidates they interviewed. Adam Gase was the first one they brought in. They lost out to him, the Miami Dolphins. They interviewed McAdoo from the Giants. He took that job. They interviewed Deuce, Pat Shermer, and now Pederson, obviously, and none of those candidates got interest from any other team. They interviewed Coughlin, and he decided not to coach rather than coach here. So the question is, was this their first choice?
I am hoping that when he was Marino's backup and had the headset on, under Don Shula, he listened and learned. I'm hoping when he was the Green Bay backup with the headset on, he listened and learned. I'm hoping that what we're getting is not simply somebody who's learned everything he knows about coaching from Andy Reid. That is my sincerest hope for Doug Pederson's success.
While outside reaction was mixed on the hiring of Doug Pederson, Jeffrey Lurie was confident he had found the right man to lead the Eagles back into contention.
Real smart, strategic thinker, communication skills unparalleled. What Doug brings also is an understanding of the passion of our fans in Philadelphia. This wasn't a requirement for the job, but he understands how dedicated, obsessed we all are to bring a Super Bowl to Philadelphia.
I understand the culture and the passion of Philadelphia. I get it. I experienced that as a quarterback in 1999. I experienced that firsthand. And now coming back, I understand what it feels like to win in this city. This city hasn't won, and this organization hasn't won in quite some time. It's my job to turn that around. I think being a head football coach in the National Football League, you have to be a great listener. You have to listen to your players. You have to listen to your coaches. You have to listen to the fans. I think the people that I've been surrounded with in my career, the Don Shulas, the Mike Holmgrens, the Andy Reids, being a part of championship organizations, the Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and being a part of the Philadelphia Eagles, and understanding what that takes and that dynamic to win in the National Football League has prepared me for this opportunity.
Pederson has spent his entire pro coaching career working for Andy Reid. So many wondered if a Pederson hire was just the launch of Andy Reid 2.0 in Philadelphia. Pederson was quick to counter that notion at his introductory press conference.
Andy Reid is a mentor. I'll be the first one to tell you that he is. But I'm also here to tell you that this is not an Andy Reid football team, and it's not a Doug Pederson football team. This is a Philadelphia Eagle football team. And so I'm going to bring my spin on it. I'm going to bring my personality to it. And we're going to make it our team.
Detail of Andy's analysis of Doug over the years, and especially in the last few weeks, was important because it was so thorough. The experiences of Doug as a coach and how he deals with players was detailed. It was extremely valuable in terms of understanding the core of Doug Pederson.
With Pederson now in place, the Eagles had to commit to a leader in the front office and under center. That meant an interesting look back and a bold look forward.
Shouts out to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. We going to the Super Bowl. I predicted it. I said we was going to beat the Vikings. Now it's time to go to the bowl. Make it do what it do. Fly, Eagles, fly. Kuka! Kuka!
I've always been a fan of Jeffrey Lurie, and I think the way he operates this team is something I'd like to be a part of. So that was really number one. Coach Pederson being an offensive coach, I think I can help him. I have some experience that he can rely on sometimes.
You can't help but, to me, be impressed by a lot of the hires. I mean, Jim Schwartz is a proven defensive coordinator in this league. Led the league in sacks 2 years ago in Buffalo, but the way that he conducts and the way that he takes charge, it's impressive. If you look at a lot of the assistants, from John DiFilippo to Frank Reich, you can't help but be impressed by the staff that Doug has surrounded himself with, and that's always a question mark for a young coach. And so I think they've got a group of really good teachers, and I think they needed a true upgrade along the board at different positions from what Chip Kelly had here in Philadelphia.
Immediately after hiring Doug Pederson, the Eagles added former Lions head coach Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator and Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. While those gentlemen would work under Doug Pederson, the Eagles didn't yet confirm a plan for who would work above him in the front office.
We're about to do a search for a player personnel head, and that will really be an important search that we're all participating in starting this week.
Will the new player personnel head report to Howie Roseman?
All questions of structure and will be determined after the search is complete.
During the previous regime, Howie Roseman had control of player personnel, wrestled away by Chip Kelly. But with Kelly now gone, Roseman was prepared to once again take the reins.
When this happened last year, that was something that I took to heart, and I think that goes back to what was really important to me, and that was the relationships. And so how can I build better relationships? I looked at people who have been successful in this field and having an opportunity to kind of look at it and gain perspective, and certainly not have any issues of them, and to be positive and try to learn and get better.
The first part of healing is admitting your flaws, and how he stood in front of all the cameras today and the microphones and admitted that. Now let's find out if lip service, and if he indeed has learned from his mistakes. If not, that was one of the best acting jobs I've ever seen.
I mean, he was humble. He took responsibility for Marcus Smith, for Danny Watkins. He said, any moves under my 5-year watch as GM are on me. I thought he was going to start crying, honestly. It was something to see Howie Roseman so contrite, so humbled. Where's it going to lead? I don't know. But listen, if he actually understands that there's been a problem with him and relationships in the building and out of the building, and he's going to work to fix that, it can only help the franchise. It can only help him do his job. We'll see what happens, but I think it's a good sign.
While the Eagles continue to search for someone to join the front office and player personnel, Roseman wasted no time putting his stamp on the offseason and the franchise.
The Eagles may not have finished strongly enough to make the playoffs, but Zach Ertz's historic finish earned him a new deal.
I talked to Doug briefly today. It was primarily about Philadelphia and being back in this city. But yeah, I'm extremely excited to be in his offense.
The team signed tackle Lane Johnson to a 6-year contract.
Feels good to get it done early, get the pressure, off of me, so to speak. But just feels good that the organization believes in me and that I'll be a part of it for 6 more years at least.
Sources have confirmed to Comcast Sportsnet that the Eagles and Vinnie Curry have agreed to terms in a 5-year deal worth over $47 million.
I really can't see myself playing for nowhere else. At the end of the day, man, I believe green. That's just what it is.
Malcolm Jenkins cashes in. Jenkins and the Eagles agreed to terms in a 5-year deal that will keep him here through 2020. The contract is reportedly worth $40.5 million with $21 million guaranteed.
As players, you want to know that you're valued as, for your talents and as well as what you can bring to the team.
The Eagles are on the verge of a trade with the Dolphins that would send both Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso to Miami.
And here they are, the Expendables. Byron Maxwell, DeMarco Murray, Kiko Alonso, all three of them.
The question is, are they rebuilding or reloading? Because it's hard to tell.
The Eagles addressed their secondary today as well, signing free agent safety Rodney McLeod to a 5-year, $37 million contract with $17 million in guaranteed dollars. Malcolm Jenkins welcomed his fellow safety to the team on Twitter, saying, "Congrats on the new deal, bro. Looking forward to having you on the squad. # Fly Eagles Fly."
I'm gonna learn a lot from him, just from obviously him being a veteran in this game. I can learn a lot. So I think we have a chance to be one of the best in the league.
The Eagles were just getting started. They also signed guard Brandon Brooks to a 5-year, $40 million contract. Brooks turns 27 this summer. He's 6'5" and 343 pounds. Brooks spent his first 4 NFL seasons in Houston.
First-class organization, from the get-go, when things were allowed to commence. They just, let, my agent and everything know that, this is a spot that they wanted me, that they were coming hard.
The team officially announced the signing of quarterback Chase Daniel and linebacker Nigel Bradham.
What really brought me here was being able to be up under Coach Shorts again, being in his scheme and just knowing the way he calls the defense and what he wants to do as a coordinator and how he wants to attack offenses.
Howie Roseman's busy free agent signing period, coupled with the notable trades of Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell to move up 5 spots in the first round, and DeMarco Murray to the Titans, led many to believe the Eagles were looking to sever their ties with all aspects of the Chip Kelly era.
I was surprised they were able to move all those contracts. I was surprised they were able to move those players. I was surprised they were able to find takers for all that, make the numbers work, and begin the process of moving on from Chip Kelly. I mean, it's a remarkable job. I mean, in just 48 hours, Howie Roseman has cleared a lot of cap space. He straightened out what was a pretty messy accounting situation, moved on a couple players who I really don't think necessarily wanted to be here, And he's begun the process of filling some of those holes. And I think first day of free agency, I think he's filled them in a pretty good way.
With Roseman back in command, the Eagles brought in Joe Douglas from the Ravens to work as vice president of player personnel and set the path for the team's scouting department.
He's got a way of looking and evaluating players that is different than what we've done in the past. And quite frankly, we needed that. He has full reign to set the draft board. He's involved in every discussion we have about building this team.
While Roseman was happy to part with several defensive starters, he knew the importance of keeping that unit's centerpiece. The contract negotiations with Fletcher Cox were anything but straightforward.
Report this morning from NJ.com that a deal between the Eagles and Fletcher Cox was, quote, close, and that the deal would be, quote, huge, but how about this tweet from Fletcher Cox, who took it upon himself to kind of cool everybody's heels? Can the reporters please stop the nonsense? Nothing is true to what they are reporting. Sad. And we point out that sad was in all caps. The rest of the text was not. So he seemed a little bit annoyed.
I asked him basically, what's all this we're hearing about you and Eagles being closer to a contract? His exact words were, not at all. Now, I know from a human standpoint, he's a little frustrated, especially after seeing the Eagles dole out over $84 million in guaranteed money in a span of less than 2 weeks. But the bottom line is Fletcher Cox is going to get his money at some point. He is not going anywhere. And the human side of us, you know, when you see that kind of money being shelled out is you get a little anxious when you know you're in line for a big payday. But it's not his time just yet. The Eagles have to really think about this meticulously in terms of how they're going to do it, when they have to do it, and who do they have to release in order to make this happen.
We're not trying to play the leverage game, you know. I think if we were playing the leverage games, I'd be more careful about my words. Calling him a great player, someone that we want here for a long time. This is not when we're trying to play a game. I mean, we're trying to sign him, we're trying to extend him, we're trying to do something that all of us can feel really good about, and we understand that's going to hurt us. You know, it's not going to be. We're not going to win the deal, and we're not trying to win the deal. There's no purpose in that when you're talking about a guy that, you know, one day we're hoping that we're talking about, you know, him a long time from now is one of the great Eagles of all time.
The other big overriding theme today was Fletcher Cox, who appears is not going to be here for, again, their voluntary workouts coming up because the Eagles have a new coach. By NFL rules, you can have those. He's not going to be here. I don't think that's a big shock, right? Are you surprised by that stance?
You know, I'm a little surprised. Right. I mean, I think he's trying to send a message, which I didn't think was something he would do. I mean, he wants a new deal.
Fletcher Cox is under contract. He should be here. He should be learning the defense, even if he's not, you know, even if he's not participating in drills when they do drills. He can be excused for that if he thinks he's going to hurt himself or whatever. But he still needs to be in here learning what he needs to learn, because, you know, Jim Schwartz's defense. They're complex, and they use a lot of different players, and he's going to be all over that defensive line.
I mean, it's voluntary, so I mean, you can only do so much. You know, Fletch was drafted in a scheme that was similar to this. You know, he'll catch up, but you know, I'm sure there's be some carryover for him. But I assume he's a fast learner, and I assume he'll pick things up quickly. I think that's probably enough. Fletcher Cox speak. Let's just talk about the guys that are here.
Cox creating some buzz on social media when he tweeted, or subtweeted as I would call it, this afternoon. He said, and the clock is still ticking.
Tick-tock.
Minutes later, Cox tweeted a follow-up. Quote, only a few days before my first invite-only 7-on-7 camp. I'm pretty pumped about it. 2 more days. That's why I said time was ticking. LOL. Totally believe that.
Don't play games. You know, either show up or don't show up. I don't know. The game playing stuff on Twitter, I could do without it.
For the first time this offseason, Cox was limited during today's practice. He did not participate in team drills after skipping all the team's voluntary workouts earlier this offseason.
I was just happy that he was back. Had a chance to visit with him yesterday and just tell him how excited I was. I understand, you know, voluntary process the whole offseason, but we're excited to get him here this week.
What kept you away from the early portion of the training?
Well, I'm here today, and I think that's all that matters. I'm not worried about the past.
Why come back now?
I'm here today. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be with the teammates. Glad to be with the coaches. You know, my thing right now is, you know, dive into the playbook.
Just 6 days after returning to workouts, the Eagles and Cox finally hammered out a record extension.
We were in the newsroom when the word came out. $63 million guaranteed, Rube. Are you surprised about that number at all, since it is the biggest ever for a non-quarterback in NFL history?
A little bit. For a guy who I think he's an elite player, but he's had probably two really good seasons and one great season, so it's a little bit risky. But you look at the flip side, you can't risk losing him. He's one of your only elite players. He might be your only really, truly elite player on either side of the football.
It's really mind-blowing. Just, that when you're dealing with that much money, it's really mind-blowing. It's just, I'm really, really excited about it. Well, I just live up to it. Me myself, I have expectations, high expectations for myself, but, all I can be is Fletcher Cox. And that's, be really, really humble about it. Come to practice every day, show up every day, and, let my teammates know that I'm there for them. And I'm willing to do anything to have this organization win, football games week in and week out.
Roseman's off-season spending spree was unlike any in Eagles history. But the Eagles executive vice president knew that the money spent meant much-needed stability for both the players and the organization.
When we sat down and looked at our roster, we felt like there were a bunch of players we wanted to keep here. And that for us to have a run of sustained success, like we were fortunate to have from 99 to 2008, where we went to 5 championship games, that we needed some continuity. There's been a lot of change. I take responsibility for a lot of change that has been made, but going forward, we're hoping to not have that change.
The Eagles had committed to a core, but the quarterback question lingered.
Doug, when you look at the roster you're inheriting, is this a team that you believe can be back in serious playoff contention next season?
I do.
On the day he was hired, Doug Pederson stressed that he believed the Eagles could win in the short term, and seemingly the best option to do so was keeping free agent quarterback Sam Bradford in the fold by any means necessary.
Sam's part of the Eagle organization, and what he's done in the last half of last year, I think, has given him that opportunity to stay in Philadelphia. And listen, being in his shoes, being a player in his shoes, and you have to want to be somewhere. And I think Sam wants to be in Philadelphia.
We like Sam, and we'd like to have him back. It goes then between all of us and whether we can figure something out.
The Eagles have their quarterback. After months of speculation, Sam Bradford will be under contract with the Midnight Green for the next 2 seasons.
I just wanted to be back in Philadelphia. And, it so happened that, my agent felt like it was a great deal for both sides. I think the organization felt the same way. And, I think as long as I continue to play the way I know I can, it shouldn't really matter.
Despite locking up the quarterback of the present, the Eagles also had their sights set on securing that position for years to come.
The saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there is a lot of smoke concerning the Eagles wanting to trade up in the first round of next month's draft.
The big question to me is, what do you have to give it up to get to that #1 spot?
We have to stop speculating, because today the Eagles pulled the trigger on a deal to acquire the 2nd overall pick in next week's draft.
What was the defining moment that this was the right move for this organization at this time?
Well, it was a culmination of a lot of research, a lot of time listening to the evaluations from our coaches, from our scouts. But I think to us the most compelling thing was that in the last 15 years we've been in the top 10 once. We picked 4th. There was no quarterback. Going back and looking at the future at this position, 2017 draft, 2018 draft, and the uniqueness of the moment where you actually had 2 teams at the top who were willing to move the picks, and then how many teams going forward in 2017 and 2018 you may be competing with.
It's a blockbuster. These deals don't come very often. And so when you do, you have to look at both sides, what they gave up, what they're getting, what the projection is. The bottom line is this: they have to be right.
There's no guarantee. In any draft choice, there is no guarantee. How do guys adapt to the NFL? Not only their physical skill set, but their mental capabilities, their football intelligence. You have to have all those things to make it in the National Football League.
If I'm the Eagles, do I make the call? Absolutely. Do I see what they're asking for? Absolutely. If that was the offer that they had said, take it or leave it, I would have said, no, it's okay. I'll stay at 8 and take the best player.
Since Donovan has been gone, we know what this team's done, no playoff wins. And this is a way for him, in his mind, at least in my opinion, to get back to those days.
The Eagles surrendered 2 first-round picks and 5 picks overall to move up 6 spaces in the 2016 NFL Draft. the goal was obvious: find a franchise quarterback. Choosing that person was not nearly as cut and dry.
According to a report from a Bay Area radio station, the Eagles worked out former Cal quarterback Jared Goff earlier today in Berkeley, California.
The Eagles reportedly worked out Carson Wentz today. Former North Dakota State star is considered by some to be the top quarterback prospect in this year's draft.
I liked him. He's got great size, good mobility, strong kid, good arm. It'll be interesting, to sit down and eventually talk with him to see where he's at mentally. But, just by the eye, a talented kid. Looks like he can play in this league.
While the Eagles researched their decision on the next face of the franchise, the incumbent quarterback contemplated a departure less than 2 months after signing a contract extension.
Sam Bradford's thoughts on the Eagles taking a QB with the number 2 pick Thursday in Dr. Seuss terms: I do not like them, so much so that he wants out.
He was excited about signing back with Philadelphia, and the contract was, I think, pretty good for him. And his situation now in Philadelphia is different, and so he wants to go someplace and be there and know that he's gonna stay as long as he plays well.
I want to reiterate our support for Sam Bradford. I go back to our statements of last week. Sam is our starting quarterback. His agent and Sam know how we feel about him. These workouts are voluntary. We look forward to seeing Sam again in the near future.
For Sam Bradford to have his feelings hurt by something that we all knew was going to happen, listen, he signed that contract knowing what was going to happen. So for this to happen now and him to act like he's in shock is baffling to everybody.
I cannot believe what Sam Bradford is doing with the Philadelphia Eagles. The impression that I get is that this guy here doesn't want to compete. He's not interested in playing quarterback. He's not interested in competing at the quarterback position.
1 day after Bradford's trade request, reports began to surface that the Eagles had targeted Carson Wentz with the 2nd overall pick.
Wentz scored his first touchdown in Chicago and ahead of Thursday's NFL draft. He's presumed to be the 2nd overall pick to the Eagles once Cal's Jared Goff goes first to the Rams. Our John Clark was the only reporter on site as Wentz arrived.
For the people of Philadelphia watching, why do you think you can be the franchise quarterback of the Eagles?
I think I've shown that I'm a winner. I think I show a lot of intangibles that people might not see. I think my physical abilities speak for itself, but I think I do a lot of things behind the scenes as far as my leadership and my intelligence that can really make myself a great quarterback going forward.
Yeah, I feel great because the kid is really something. I like him a lot, not just as a kid, but as a player, as a great potential. Nobody wants to hear that word potential. I know in the city of brotherly love, we went on here potential. Seems like a good fit schematically too, because Doug Pederson's version of the West Coast offense is going to be good for a guy like Carson Wentz.
They get Carson Wentz, who I think is ultimately the #1 player coming out of this draft. I would bang the table for the kid for 2 reasons. We can all look at his arm strength and his size and his athletic ability, but it goes beyond that, especially at the quarterback position. I would bang the table for this kid's intangibles. He's never gotten a B. He works his tail off. He's tough as nails. He'll be the first guy in the gym every morning. I'm all in on Carson Wentz.
With the 2nd pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Carson Wentz, quarterback from Dakota State.
Hey, Carson.
Hey, Mr. Ray.
Hey, I'm good. Congratulations. You ready to join our Eagles family?
Yes, I am. Real excited.
Great. Carson.
Coach, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
Doing great.
You doing great? You seem like you're a little calm through all this. How you doing? Yeah, you gotta be, right?
I'm good.
Hey, how's it feel to be an Eagle?
Feels terrific.
Yeah.
You guys told me when I was there. I'm ready to go.
I know. We tried to sell it hard.
You come into somewhat of an interesting situation here. It's been well documented. Sam Bradford not happy that the Eagles moved up to draft a quarterback and said he wants to be traded as not coming in for voluntary workouts. It doesn't directly affect you, but it's probably something you're going to be asked about time and time again during this offseason. How do you handle that situation?
Yeah, it kind of just is what it is. It's something that's out of my control entirely, and so I'm just going to come in and respect my teammates, compete, and
learn as much as I can, as quick as I can, and the rest of that will all just take care of itself.
Less than 2 weeks after the Eagles selected Wentz, Bradford returned to off-season workouts and remained the starter.
The guy played his hand.
Yeah.
Took a stand.
Sure.
Had to fold.
Yeah.
Eat a little humble pie. Come back in with his tail between his legs. Apologize as he did with his statement. Did the right thing. Now it's all about football. But you're right, Rhea. Philadelphia is unlike a lot of football towns in America today. They don't forgive so easily.
He made a mistake, and I think he really realizes he made a bad move by balking and playing with the Eagles and demanding to be traded.
Agent, do you think that was the main thing?
No, I don't. I don't. I think it was his decision.
I don't blame him.
What? Come on, you've got a $35 million contract. You are the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, and you don't accept competition?
See, the thing about Philadelphia that people don't realize is there really competition when it comes to week 7, week 8, when you're sitting there at 3-5, 2-6.
Yes.
You know, if they bring the sign guy back out, they bring that sign guy back out.
Well, you better have thick skin.
Despite plenty of discussion from the media and fans, Bradford and Doug Pederson both painted a positive picture of a unique situation at the game's most important position.
It was one of those things. I think when I first found out about the trade, I was frustrated. I just felt like I needed some time. I could have stayed here, could have continued to work here, but I'm not sure my head really would have been here those 2 weeks.
I've actually talked to Sam, and since he's been back, and I told him, my feelings haven't changed. He's my guy. He's the number one guy, and I just want him to embrace that, and let's not look forward. Not look backward, but look forward.
Teams have no loyalty necessarily to their players, so when players make moves, it's all business. We don't go ask Howie why they cut somebody or why they trade somebody. So I want to ask somebody why they held out. All I can do is express that we wanted him in the building, and he came back, so we're good to go.
Sam's been great. Like you said, he was once a top draft pick, and he's been through it all. So there's lots of things we've talked about. There's lots of things we've talked about with Chase, with Coach Wright, Coach Pederson. They've all been through it in some way, shape, or form. So they've all been very helpful for me, and it's a really good room for me to not only grow mentally in the playbook, but also just off the field and everything. It's been great. I think Carson's done a great job. Obviously, anytime you come into this league as a rookie, it's not easy, especially at the quarterback position, especially, in this offense with just a lot of information being thrown at you. But, he's shown that he can handle it. I think he does a great job at taking things from the meeting room to the practice field. It seems like he gets better every day. So, I've been really impressed with him. While Wentz played the role of understudy in training camp, it was clear Eagles fans viewed him as the leading man. In his first preseason game, Wentz teased flashes of his star potential.
Of course, the big takeaway on the offensive side is the performance of Carson Wentz. That's who everybody came to see tonight, and they got a good long look at him in the second half. I thought he played well.
I just know the fans are excited, and I know it's going to be a heck of a ride here, and I'm looking forward to it.
The excitement diminished the very next day when it was discovered Wentz was injured in his Eagles debut.
The Eagles announced after practice today that Wentz has a hairline fracture in his ribs. It was an injury that he suffered late in the fourth quarter in the game against Tampa Bay.
If the idea was, to just put him on the side and not dress him and not activate him game day, then it doesn't, but I think it hurts him. These are valuable games. The only way a quarterback gets better is by playing.
Certainly early, the idea that he could be competitive for playing time or maybe be part of packages to get him on the field early in the season, you can forget about that.
Wentz entered preseason third on the depth chart, so his rib injury appeared to end all questions surrounding Sam Bradford's short-term future at Philadelphia. Then again, appearances can be deceiving.
Is Howie Roseman working a little bit more of his Off-season magic.
Yeah, Trader Howie at it again. All right, Roseman saw a team in need of a starting quarterback, and he was ready to strike.
Just 8 days before the start of the 2016 season, the Eagles stunned just about everyone by trading starting quarterback Sam Bradford to a Vikings team that needed a passer following a season-ending training camp injury to Teddy Bridgewater.
We felt like it was a good opportunity for both teams. That in their situation, the football team that they have, that it was a good opportunity for them to get a quarterback of Sam's caliber. And at the same time, we felt like in the situation that we were and how our depth chart looked, not only at the quarterback position, but going forward by adding these picks and getting that cap room to put back into our football team, that would serve us well too. So you look for win-win opportunities when you make these trades. You want to have relationships with people where you can go back and make trades that are good for both teams, and we're hopeful that it works out for both sides.
Oh, 98% positive. I mean, we had a couple of people that talked about, you're throwing away the season, but I mean that was the minority. I mean, most of the people are fully on board with this decision and excited about it.
What about the wisdom of doing this a week before the season opener?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get offered a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick that can turn into maybe more, I don't think the timing matters. I think if they got offered this, 2 weeks into the season, they would have taken it. A first-round pick for a player like Bradford, who really hasn't accomplished much in his career, probably wasn't going to take you to the playoffs this year.
It's a risk for the Eagles in that they don't have any experience at quarterback now, but I'll tell you what, if you can get a first-round pick for Sam Bradford, case closed, you do it.
Mm-hmm. There was no way, shape, or form I ever thought that Sam Bradford would be worth a first-round pick to anybody in the National Football League and even the CFL for that matter.
With Bradford gone, the Eagles had to choose between the veteran Chase Daniel and the second overall pick, Carson Wentz, to start the season. It didn't take the Eagles long to better their future.
Carson Wentz will start the game on Sunday. Chase will be number 2. And we're moving forward in that direction.
Well, the whole time, all along, it was just getting ready for whenever this time would come. And I knew I was ready. I knew I was taking the mental reps, being out the last couple weeks, even going into the first game, the first preseason game. I felt very confident, felt like I've developed at a fast pace, and now it's here.
This kid's ready to go. And we drafted him to take on the reins, and it's something now that we're prepared to do, and looking forward to Cleveland.
Well, he loves the game of football. I think that sticks out first and foremost with Carson. He's a gym rat per se. He's going to be in the film room as much as anyone on the team, and I think you love that at the quarterback position, that he's going to be the most prepared guy on the team.
I think he's a very sharp kid that is not going to be too shell-shocked by things that defenses are going to throw at him. I think he, for the most part, is on top of things mentally, which is a really added bonus at that position.
Was this the right call by Coach Doug Pederson?
I do think it was the right call. Once you decide to move on from Sam Bradford, and with that trade offer from the Vikings, it's hard not to move on from Bradford. I think at that point you need to commit to Carson Wentz.
I would only ask the fans, all of those that are running out now to buy their number 11 jerseys, and I know you're doing it by the hundreds, be patient on Sunday, because there are going to be some rough patches here.
He has the tools. Is he ready technically? No, he's not ready. I mean,
No,
you don't
he's
play
not
3
ready.
weeks in the preseason and all of a sudden be thrown out there a week before the season starts and haven't worked with the first team offense until Monday and all of a sudden be ready to go out there and perform at a high level. It's not going to happen. But when you see Carson Wentz, when you talk to the coaches in the building, when you talk to people around the league that did see him in that first preseason game, they think he certainly has the tools to someday eventually be that guy. The big question, Mike, as you mentioned, is whether he's in fact ready, and do you want to hold off on that?
Bradford was going to be a short-term guy here. We all knew that even when he signed the new contract. That's why the Eagles gave up a pick to move up to number 2 and draft Carson Wentz. He is the quarterback of the future. I said to you in June, remember, Michael, when Doug Pederson said, my number 1 quarterback is going to be Sam Bradford, my number 2 quarterback is going to be Chase Daniel. I said, no, he's not. Carson Wentz has got to get on the field this year. I didn't think he'd get on the field for the opener.
Now it's just kind of down to the business, and but I can tell you I'm very confident, and I'm very excited to get this opportunity.
Wentz proved he could win in the NFL, propelling the Eagles to a 3-0 start before dropping 9 of the next 11 games. That stretch was impacted greatly by the loss of all-pro caliber right tackle Lane Johnson to a 10-game suspension as a result of a second positive test for performance-enhancing drugs.
It's mainly frustrating. It's been, living hell over the past month. Just had to think about it, all the time, and then, knowing that, you're one of the players that's going to really help this team this year and not be able to do it. So that's what's been frustrating, and just sitting here and you can't do nothing about it.
This guy right now is their best offensive lineman, based on the way he's played. I think in the first 4 games, he's basically the anchor of that line moving forward. They just signed him to a 5-year, $56 million contract. He's the likely heir to Jason Peters at left tackle. So, yes, this is going to hurt them for 10 games.
Do you have remorse when you come back about, the team was 3-1 when you went down?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that weighs on my mind all the time. Even right now when I'm with the team, I feel like a lot of things could have happened differently with the season. Not saying one player can do that much, but I feel like that could have helped the team in a lot of good ways.
Despite losing one of his best protectors for most of the season, Wentz did play in all 16 games as a rookie and validated the decision to trade for him and start him immediately. Even though the Eagles finished 7-9 and missed the playoffs for a 3rd straight season, there was a good deal of optimism concerning their quarterback and the long-term vision.
Imagine when this kid has a full array of receivers around him. It's going to be exciting to watch. I can't wait for the future. Carson Wentz is the future of this franchise.
I thought we had a team that fought every single game. And I think, when you have that, you have a good football team.
This team's actually headed in the right direction. We all believe in Doug, and I think that this team is right there. We probably a couple plays away, a couple players away, whatever it is. But I think we're right there, and I think next year will be a different story for us.
I think they've convinced themselves to be optimistic, because when you look at this season, they lost 6 games by 7 points or fewer. So in a lot of these games, they're real close, and I think that's the way they have to convince themselves that they were a good team and things just didn't go their way.
We've put a lot of Band-Aids on things for a long time. And when you have a 24-year-old quarterback, when your highest paid player is 25 years old, there are some really good building blocks, some things that other teams in this league are looking for. And so we got to do the right thing by them, surround those guys with the right talent. All you got to do is look at the playoffs and the teams with young quarterbacks who are ascending and how long it took them to kind of hit on all cylinders. And I think that's a great blueprint for all of us to look at.
I mean, this year really rides on me. I feel like if I would have played, I feel like we could have beat Dallas first time. I feel like we'd have been, going to the playoffs.
I think the playoffs next year.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, man, it's going to be more action-based than me talking.
I think you go back and you look at 2008 when we were in a championship game, and then 2009 and 10, and 10-6 isn't good enough to get home field advantage, to compete for a championship. I mean, it's a huge edge to have that bye. And so we got to build the team with that in mind. I think some of the things that we've done over the past few years have been to get to 10-6. And that's not good enough.
I think they can be a playoff team next year if they nail this offseason. If they get 3 of those first 4 draft picks, or say 3 of the first 5 in the first 4 rounds to become starters, if they can nail cornerback, wide receiver, with Carson Wentz making a big step in year 2, which I fully expect him to do, they can be a playoff team.
With the quarterback and a young nucleus in place, Howie Roseman had to find the complementary pieces to put the Eagles on course for a Super Bowl run, even if his owner wasn't quite sure it was possible.
We're not one player away. We have lots of holes. And you got to recognize that first. We have lots of holes.
That's all that matters.
Everybody calm this out and look where we're going. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Don't try to flip on this, man, but we got one more game to go.
We are going to the stinking Super Bowl, and that's all we need to know.
Football is a results-oriented business, but it took plenty of moves in the 2017 offseason for the Eagles to become champions. At the start of free agency, the Eagles addressed a glaring need at wide receiver by adding a player with Pro Bowl credentials.
The NFL officially opened for free agent business this afternoon, and the Eagles made a big splash shortly after 4 o'clock as the team signed the top wide receiver on the market, Alshon Jeffrey. It's a 1-year deal worth a reported $14 million.
He is a matchup nightmare for defensive backs. Now, Rob, you know me. I watch a lot of NFC North football because of one particular team. And I've seen this guy play too many times, and I've seen him go where you can just throw the ball up in the air. You can throw it to the sky, and if he's standing there waiting for it, 8 times out of 10, he's going to come down with the football. You know, not a lot of 6'5" DBs in the National Football League other than Richard Sherman of Seattle. So he's got the advantage there. He's got the wingspan. He's aggressive. He can get off press coverage, and he can get a cornerback or a safety on his hip in a hurry. Now, he's not going to kill you with his breakaway speed, but I think he's exactly what Carson Wentz needed.
Yeah, a lot to do with my decision. He's a great quarterback. I mean, the sky's the limit for him. He's going to be a future MVP.
Well, I texted him, me and him text back and forth. I told him that my job is to help him win the MVP. He said, I don't really care about MVP. I want to win championships. And I was like, that's right. That's the right mindset, right attitude.
On the same day the Eagles signed Jeffrey, they also inked a threat to stretch the field in former Raven and 49er Torrey Smith.
I watched, Carson play from a distance, and you can see that he has that it factor. And obviously he's still young, so he's not perfect, but I know that he has the potential to get it done, to be able to play with a guy like that and also grow with him and help him in other ways. I'm looking forward to it.
In addition to signing weapons to help Wentz, Roseman also made a move to strengthen the quarterback room overall by bringing back a familiar face.
The Eagles have signed former Chief Nick Foles. The quarterback returns to the Birds with a 2-year, $11 million contract. Foles made the Pro Bowl following the 2013 season with the Eagles, but was traded a year later in a deal for Sam Bradford.
It is shocking, but it makes sense.
Is it really? It makes complete sense.
I was going to say, but it does make sense. I mean, look, he was here when Doug Pederson was here as the quarterback coach back in 2012. He just played in Kansas City, so he's familiar with that offense. He can come in and be a backup to Wentz without really, threatening him. This isn't somebody Wentz is going to have to look over his shoulder for. Not that there's many guys Wentz would.
We all realize, unless it's a scenario like Dallas last year, if your starting quarterback goes down in this league for an extended period of time, you're in big trouble, right? I mean, regardless of who it is.
That's why our backups.
You're going to be in big trouble. Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. If you're comparing the track record, and mind you, it's been ugly the last couple of years, and really 2013 is about all you can hang your hat on with Nick. It's a lot better than Chase Daniel, who's done virtually nothing in this league.
Every one of us quarterbacks wants to eventually have an opportunity to play again and be in the huddle. But at the same time, you can't have the mindset out there that far. I'm in the moment. My role right now is to be the backup quarterback and to help Carson in any way I can.
None of us can see into the future. And I think it has to be the perfect scenario. How will, if he gets the chance, how will Doug Pederson deploy him in this offense? Will he streamline the offense to play to Nick Foles' strengths?
Later in the offseason, a Super Bowl winning running back was added to the mix.
The Eagles signed free agent running back LeGarrette Blount to a 1-year deal. According to reports, it could be worth up to $2.8 million.
People were saying, why don't they get LeGarrette Blount? He's out there. Now they got him. Can we stop the worrying about what they're going to do at the running back position?
I would say yes. I mean, this completes the offense. Now we have a back that can go 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Maybe we don't pass against Baltimore at that crucial last play of the game. That's what you get in LeGarrette Blount.
And I would like to just come here and just try to compete for a job and make sure I could be a big role model and mentor for those young guys.
Howie Roseman also tinkered with the defense, even going so far as listening to offers for Pro Bowl safety Malcolm Jenkins before choosing to retain the defensive stalwart.
People should be interested in Malcolm Jenkins. He is a heck of a player. And by the same token, we don't want to give him up.
Malcolm Jenkins, all he's done is play well on the field and be a leader off the field. This was a win for the Eagles, and the Saints were trying to fix a mistake.
Defense secure, Roseman went about adding the necessary pieces in the secondary and in the trenches.
The Eagles aren't done in free agency. Today they announced the signing of defensive end Chris Long to a 2-year deal. Long played last year with the Patriots where he got a Super Bowl ring. He tweeted out this morning, "I'm ready to work. #fly Eagles fly."
This guy and what he brings to the table on and off the field. And I understand that when we met in January, we talked about no Band-Aids. But from our perspective, there are opportunities to get value in free agency, certainly at this time of year. And we're looking at any ways to improve our football team.
They signed cornerback Patrick Robinson, who last played for the Colts last season. What can you tell us about Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, Patrick Robinson, 29 years old. It's a 1-year deal, kind of a prove-it thing. And obviously the Eagles need as much help as they can get at cornerback.
The Eagles acquired defensive end Timmy Jernigan from the Ravens, along with the 99th overall pick.
all in exchange for the 74th overall pick.
The Eagles now, this green and black is the only thing on my mind. That's all that I care about. I got to do whatever I got to do to help take this defense to the next level and help us win football games.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Derek Barnett, defensive end, Tennessee.
I'm not gonna sit back and wait my turn, but I'm gonna come in and learn my role first, and get around these vets and learn what I have to do first to get on the field. But me being a first-round pick doesn't mean anything. It doesn't guarantee me a spot. I still have to come in and work.
He's the best pure outside pass rusher in the draft.
I think he's a good pick. It's the safe pick for them. Derek Barnett is a guy that, personally, when I look at him, he appears to be someone who's going to have a long career. Now, is it going to be 18 sacks, 15 sacks? Probably not, but still, if you have a guy that can get you double-digit sacks on the regular, I think that's a good pick.
Over 2 off seasons, the Eagles front office solidified the team's nucleus while overhauling the supporting pieces. Most believe the team was moving in the right direction, but just how quickly the Eagles would become contenders was up for debate. Even the team's owner wasn't fully convinced.
We're in the mode where we're not one player away. We have lots of holes. And you got to recognize that first. We have lots of holes. And we have to draft really well over the next few years to accomplish what we want to accomplish early on in Carson's career. It's just surrounding him well with depth and smart thinking, and that's our strategy. You've got to be patient.
This, to me, is a dose of reality, and I think that people actually appreciate this. They'd rather hear this than have smoke blown somewhere.
We truly believe we have the pieces in place, and we got a lot of work ahead of us here. It's early, it's April still, but we truly believe that, and we're gonna put the work in and get it done.
This is the best I've seen the team look since I've been here. I'm confident. I'm not talking on my. So I feel like we're in a good spot.
I think the depth that we have this year is the deepest team that we've had in a while. From an offensive standpoint, I think this could be the best team we've had.
I honestly believe the Eagles win the NFC East. I think with Carson Wentz in his second year, with the weapons they've added on both sides of the football, with one more year with Wentz and Ertz and Jordan Matthews, and you mix in all the new weapons, I really believe this team is going to do something special this year.
Pederson was asked if this Eagles team is poised to make a playoff run this season, and he responded, quote, "I think they are capable. There's a lot of factors. I look back at my time in Green Bay as a player when we were making those playoff runs, those Super Bowl runs there, and do we have as much talent on this team than we did then? We probably have more talent, right?"
Let's start with Brett Favre. Let's start with Reggie White. Let's start with Mike Holmgren. We could go on and on and on.
The question was, are they ready to win big? And he was saying, based on talent, they have talent, but it takes more than talent. And you know this well. It takes the whole team coming together, gelling.
I was on those teams in the 1990s and went to 2 Super Bowls back-to-back with the Packers. And so, I've seen what it takes. And I just got to make sure that we're doing those same things here to get us eventually to that game.
Pederson had certainly fostered belief from his quarterback. Carson Wentz entered the season with his eyes toward one goal.
Last year, at the end of the day, we finished 7-9. That's not good enough. That's never going to be good enough for me or for anybody in this building. And so I fully expect us to all, make strides and, hopefully be playing into January.
It's been great, man. We've been counted out for 5 weeks straight. This team's fought through so much adversity, injuries, people saying Nick couldn't do it, people saying the defense wasn't strong enough. We just kept prevailing, we kept pushing through.
The cornerbacks were pretty much an F.
Quarterback play served as the Achilles heel for the Eagles in 2016, and it was one issue that did not look to be resolved going into the 2017 campaign. But in early August, Howie Roseman made one more critical trade.
Matthews shipped out to Buffalo. Matthews and a 2018 third-round draft pick will head to upstate New York. In return, they get cornerback Ronald Darby.
Can you tell Philadelphia what you're going to bring as far as your style of play at cornerback?
I'm going to be aggressive, play fast, and get to the ball.
Darby's arrival came at the cost of losing Jordan Matthews, the team's top receiver over the previous 3 seasons, and a close friend of Carson Wentz.
It'll be different. It'll
it'll be tough, but like I said, I think it just speaks to the type of guy he was. Everyone loved him. He was his ultimate competitor out here. Always was about the team first. I mean, this is my first time experiencing this with someone that's one of my best friends, you know, and seeing him yesterday, it was tough on him too.
It's always hard to trade a good player and even a better person. You know, those conversations you have, they never get easier. This is a hard trigger to pull when you're talking about Jordan and a premium pick. But we're just trying to figure out the best way to build this team and be competitive, not only during the regular season, but hopefully one day to win playoff games and get even further than that.
With their roster solidified, the Eagles turned their sights toward the start of the regular season. Former NFL executive Mike Lombardi trained a critical eye on head coach Doug Pederson.
Now, everyone knows Pederson isn't a head coach. He might be less qualified to coach a team than anyone I've seen in my 30-plus years in the NFL. Pederson was barely a coordinator before he became head coach. The Eagles looked increasingly sloppy and unprepared as the 2016 season limped along. That ain't changing in 17. Only Carson Wentz can save Pederson's job, and Wentz actually got worse during his rookie year, not better. When will the Eagles admit their mistake? Will they throw away 17 stubbornly sticking to the Pederson principle?
Lurie, Howie, the guys thought I was qualified, so in my opinion, that's good enough for me. Again, this organization is behind me 100%.
I've been around Bill Walsh, I've been around Bill Belichick, I've been around Al Davis. I think I know what a good coach looks like, and I just don't see Doug being able to be ready for the job that they were giving him, and I think that's the challenge.
First of all, those comments, you guys call it clickbait or hot takes. That's how I saw that. Quarterback analysis, locker room chemistry, and the ability to put together a top-notch coaching staff. Those are three real key ingredients, and I think he aced them all.
Lombardi's comments may have been to the extreme, but he certainly wasn't alone in having his doubts about the Birds' chances in 2017.
They're looking to be into playoffs this year, and the players are also looking to win. They might be looking that way, Ray. Will it end that way, my friend?
Right now, I would say no. But, I mean, they certainly are thinking that way. Right now, I kind of see the Eagles a little bit in the middle of the pack. But if they want to think about going to the postseason, hey, it's week one. That's what you're supposed to be thinking.
What I'd like to see is the continued improvement. We see the improvement in all the personnel moves that they've made. Listen, I would say that the division is certainly up for grabs.
The Eagles came out of the gates strong with a 30-17 Week 1 win in Washington.
He's hit. The football comes loose. It's picked up by Cox. And he is into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
Jake Elliott, signed after a Week 1 injury to Caleb Sturgis, displayed a powerful leg and a flair for the dramatic in Week 3.
The kick is away. And the kick is... It's good! And the Eagles win 61 yards! The longest kick in Eagles history!
Jake Elliott's mom and stepdad in the stands yesterday at the link, watching the game-winning kick go through the uprights, and just sheer, besides themselves, joy and emotion. An incredible scene.
It's kind of all a blur to me. I don't really know. I just know that the ball was in the air for a really long time, real close to that right upright.
That win came at a cost, as the team lost Darren Sproles for the season with a torn ACL and broken arm. The following week, Eagles fans took over StubHub Center en route to an Eagles win over the Chargers. After a Week 2 loss in KC, the Eagles ripped off 9 straight wins behind stellar play from Carson Wentz, and that had many thinking about MVP honors for the second-year QB.
I said all along that, a young quarterback is not going to carry a football team. Well, you know something? This is the first game in Carson Wentz's career where he took this football team and he hoisted it on his back. And he won this football game.
As a defender, you're kind of like, God, what else do we got to do to stop this guy? And he's playing lights out right now, obviously. And when you have a quarterback that can do that, and at the same time throw it over everybody's head for a huge pass, that's a pretty special guy.
Well, he's great. I mean, he do a great job just making plays. I mean, just seeing guys.
He does some crazy things. I mean, some things just don't make sense. But it goes to show you how talented he is and what he's capable of.
The latest MVP odds from Las Vegas have Carson Wentz as an even money favorite to win the NFL MVP award this season. And SI.com polled 18 NFL writers who should be the MVP. Guess what? How many do you think voted for him? 16. First or second on the ballot. Yeah, he certainly looks the part.
You're talking about we're comparing him to Carson Wentz, who's arguably the MVP of the league this year. So I think it's a pretty easy decision.
My favorite player right now is Carson Wentz. I told my brother that early in the season, that I just love the way he plays the game.
As winning became a tradition, so did Brandon Graham calling out our Derek Gunn.
You was with them Giants. Man, you was with them Giants, man. You wrong again. You on that bandwagon now, huh?
The good times were rolling for Graham and the Eagles, despite two more costly season-ending injuries to left tackle Jason Peters and starting middle linebacker Jordan Hicks.
I think the Peters loss is going to hurt them more than the Hicks loss. I don't know if they can rebound from it in terms of if you're looking big picture and Super Bowl. I probably shouldn't look that far ahead, but when you're talking about positions in the NFL and where they rank in terms of importance, left tackle is the second most important after quarterback, and the Eagles just lost their Hall of Fame caliber left tackle in Jason Peters.
Even with the injuries mounting, the Birds rolled into a Week 14 showdown with the playoff-bound Rams in LA. With a win, the Eagles would clinch the NFC East and strengthen their grasp on home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Eagles fans, once again, flocked to the City of Angels. But the mood turned in the third quarter when the star of the NFL season and MVP favorite Carson Wentz left the field with a leg injury.
When he got into the end zone, he was sandwiched and took a big shot. So they've got to check him out.
So Nick Foles has to get ready.
The worst was quickly confirmed.
Torn ACL. Torn ACL, it appears, yes.
It's unfortunate. I mean, especially, a guy like Carson means so much to us, a good friend, does everything the right way.
It sort of felt like we're about 2 weeks away from Christmas. You know what it would have been like? Going to the top of the stairs, looking down, seeing that bike you always wanted, or whatever gift, the basketball, the baseball bat, your parents saying to you, doesn't that look awesome? Guess what? You can't play with it. You can't open it, and you can't do anything with it. Because we saw all season what Carson Wentz was able to do and where he was potentially leading this team, and to know he's gone, it's gutting. It just hurts bad.
All us Eagles fans were heartbroken. We finally make it into the playoffs, and everyone's like, Super Bowl, we might get there, and now it's just come crashing down, all our hopes and dreams.
At the end of the day, this year we still have something special. We just clinched the NFC East. That was step one of our goals this season, and we're just continuing on from there.
With Wentz sidelined for the season, the attention quickly turned to his backup and whether Nick Foles could finish when Wentz had started.
We know the Eagles are going to the playoffs. They assured themselves of that with the win in Los Angeles. But how far can they go if they don't have Carson Wentz? Can they win games with Nick Foles? Yes.
I've got a list of quarterbacks, at least 6 of them, backup quarterbacks that won Super Bowls, coming in the backup position. Possible now. Is it possible with this team?
Listen, it's not likely, but I think one thing we've learned about this team, this is a team that lost Jason Peters, that lost Darren Sproles, that lost Jordan Hicks, that lost Rodney McLeod and Fletcher Cox for a couple games. This is a very resilient team, and I think Doug Pederson, one thing he's proven to be really, really good at is navigating it through adversity.
To the fans out there, they can't, you can't lose faith. I mean, this has been a resilient football team all season long, and if there's ever an opportunity for me as a head football coach to rally the troops, now might be the time.
I'm fully confident in this team. I'm confident in myself. This isn't what a quarterback ever wants. You never want to see this happen, but my job is to go out there and lead this team, and I'm fully confident in that.
Everybody actually, Nick Foles hasn't been a great quarterback in this league before. He's got a set of cleats or something like that in the Hall of Fame for throwing most touchdowns in a single game. He's been pretty darn good in Philadelphia before. As long as the offensive line protects for him, as long as the receivers catch the balls, as long as the running backs, keep the game balanced, and we can support him, I think that he's more than capable of being a great quarterback in this league.
I'm excited about Nick getting in the lineup. I know guys on this team are excited, and everything's still in front of us, and we got some games to play here.
Unified in their mission, the Eagles won Foles' first start, a 34-29 victory against the Giants that included 4 touchdown passes from the backup turned starter.
Foles fires, and it's caught. Touchdown! Foles delivers to Ertz.
The thing we went into this week with, that we had the most concern over, was Nick Foles and his ability to lead this team. Well, he showed the ability to lead this team. We said that he had to go out there and make sure he got the ball to his playmakers.
He performed really, really well. When you consider the pressure that he was under, the expectations, the standard that he had to meet that had been set by Carson Wentz, who was only playing at MVP level before that, he was everything you could have hoped for, and then some.
I think it speaks to the mentality of our team. It speaks to the way that we're coached. It speaks to the guys that this team was assembled with. The backups have been able to go in and play well enough for us to continue winning games. And I think it's been a really good year for the Philadelphia Eagles, and a testament to how good this team is.
Now, one win from ensuring the road to Minneapolis and the Super Bowl would go through Philadelphia, the Eagles welcomed a Raiders team with nothing to play for to town on Christmas night. The Eagles received the gift of victory. But a shaky performance from Foles that week and in a Week 17 cameo against Dallas had many doubting the team's championship chances.
I've seen this so many times over the years. Teams that lose their momentum going down the stretch, and they go into the playoffs, they say, oh, we can throttle back. It's not that big a deal. We'll get it geared up for the playoffs. We'll flip a switch, all those cliches. It generally doesn't work. You have to go in. The teams that go in hot are usually the teams that survive. And right now, the Eagles are not a hot team.
You have to look that far ahead. You have to look at this team as it is constructed right now with Nick Foles at quarterback, with the defense playing hot, not so hot, playing even worse again against the Giants, and wondering whether they have what it takes, as you mentioned, to beat those heavyweights.
Here's the good thing. He's been here before. He's played in a playoff game where he actually played very well in that game against New Orleans. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, almost completed 70% of his passes. Gave his team a lead, by the way, with 4:54 left. All those kind of things are in your favor. I know it was 2013. I know that's a long time ago in NFL parlance. I get that. But I would rather have that at least.
And I feel great. I feel really confident. I know the guys are confident in me. I've played with a lot of these guys. I've played with a lot of these coaches. And, I'm excited to get to work, get ready for the playoffs.
He's been thrust now into this difficult situation where he's got tons of pressure on him. He's got to go out there and frankly, I think it affected him against the Cowboys. And you got to wonder what the weather's going to do to him as well. Now all of a sudden, the weight of Eagles Nation is on his shoulders.
I do know this. It's not about one guy. One guy. It's about 11 on offense, defense, and special teams. So a lot of contributing factors go into winning a game.
In the divisional round of the playoffs, the top-seeded Eagles would host the 6th-seeded Falcons at Lincoln Financial Field. And for the first time in NFL postseason history, the number 1 seed was installed by Vegas odd makers as underdogs. It was a level of disrespect that had the players barking.
We've been an underdog in our last game ever since 11 went down, and we just found a way to win. And just put a big chip on our shoulder, it just add fuel to the fire, and that's what this team, obviously been going off of all year. I mean, big chip on our shoulder. People doubting us every week, so we just want to go out and shut those doubters up.
Before we even did what we did during the regular season, people were doubting us before, so it doesn't really change. Our goal is still the same. Just continue to work and go out there, try to grind, get a win.
We feel a little bit of it, and we using that as fuel, and we're going to go out there and execute.
It's a us against the world mentality they're developing over there, and they've been developing that over there. They feel as though they're against everybody. Our backs against the wall, we're ready to come out fighting. You want to have that type of mentality because it brings those guys closer together.
The Eagles entered that matchup with the right mentality, but the team's longest tenured player wanted to make sure his teammates knew what was at stake.
All these guys got to understand this is it. This opportunity may not come for anybody again. So let's step it up.
I don't care how we get the win. We're in the playoffs, and and we got to get a win. And obviously, like, you want to go out there and play. I'm going to give it everything I have for these guys. I know they're going to give everything they have for me, and that's the beautiful thing about a team. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, you just want to get the W.
I think Nick is going to come out and play well, but you have to. This guy is not a rookie quarterback. He's not an unknown quantity. He's played a lot of games in the NFL and played well. So I just think you're going to see the best of Nick Foles in that divisional round game.
It's win or go home. Yes, he has to. We have to understand that he has to go out there and impose his will on that defense. It's time for Nick Foles to go out there and play the way he's supposed to play.
I'm not going to say the Eagles caught a break with Atlanta because that suggests that Atlanta's not capable of winning this game, and they obviously are. But I think of all the matchups that were possible for them, I think this is probably the best one.
They're going to go out on that field with that proverbial chip on the shoulder, especially the defense, because a lot of people are talking about what the Falcons' offense is going to do to this defense.
And on game day, it came down to that defense making a fourth down stand.
Ryan is throwing it up in the air. Incomplete! Intended for Jones. Incomplete! Win for the Eagles as they have advanced to the NFC Championship game.
We are good. We're the best in the league. Let's go. Yeah. You better believe it. I heard this was a bye week. When I heard this was a bye week, it is for them. Bye. Bye. We believe in everybody that's in this circle, man. You know what I'm saying? If this don't prove it, if you don't believe it yet, man, go home.
There are the faithful at Xfinity Live. And what do the faithful say to the doubters? Oh, ye of little faith.
How you like me now?
How do you like me now, see?
It was a gritty, gutsy kind of game, which you kind of thought it was going to be coming in, given the makeup of these two teams.
I've been critical of Doug Pederson in a lot of areas, in a lot of ways over the last 2 years. But tonight I want to say that I was impressed with his play calling in the second half of this game.
When did Carson go down?
Week 14.
December 10th.
Okay, since that point, no one's given us a chance. Nobody has given us a chance. And I understand Carson's a great player, but every week our guys are hearing the same thing, that now we're all of a sudden not good enough. You know, we're 13-3. We have the best record in football. We're, home field advantage throughout. It really doesn't matter what you guys talk about, because that locker room in there is united, and I'll go to bat for every one of those guys, and I'll go to war with every one of those guys in that dressing room.
We went out there and played great team football. We played Philadelphia Eagle football tonight, and that's the most important thing.
Nobody gave us a shot, but it's all about the men in this room. And like what we talk about, we got another 60 minutes, another chance to play 60 minutes, and that's next week. And I'm just happy. Man, I'm telling you, I'm happy with this team, because we are a great team and we stay together even through adversity.
Somebody was like, what's up with the wolf mask? First off, it's a German Shepherd. It's the underdog mask. And I wasn't going to field any questions, but I decided that I would field them in the dog mask. So what was the reaction? What's the reaction? People are terrified.
Yeah, baby! Are you kidding me right now? We are going to the championship, baby. Yeah.
Is Nick Foles your baby?
Nick Foles, baby. He took us. I told you. We did it. Now we're going to the championship, baby. And then the Super Bowl. It's over, baby.
But Larry, really, be honest with me. Final drive by the Falcons. How nervous were you? What was that stadium?
I'm never nervous. Our defense cooked it up, baby. Yeah. That's what we needed. But Nick Foles took us there. And we're going to the championship, baby. And then the Super Bowl.
Larry, you're not worried about the Saints or the Vikings?
No. It's here. We're home. We can win anywhere here. When this fan and this... we're awesome, baby.
What an awesome day today for the Philadelphia Eagles, for these fans of this city. I'm just thrilled to death.
1 week from tomorrow, we come back together and we shock the world again. Let's get this job done.
A sixth trip to the NFC Championship game as team owner had Jeffrey Lurie dancing in the Eagles locker room. Vikings fans were also celebrating after one of the most remarkable playoff wins in recent memory. So, the NFC title would be decided between a team of destiny from Minnesota and a team of underdogs from Philadelphia.
I'm really excited. Just the opportunity to go out with these guys one more time. It's a blessing. It's been a great week of work. Nighttime game Sunday in the league versus Minnesota. I mean, this is why you play the game. This is what you dream about as a kid. And we're all fortunate to be living it. And like I said, to go out there with these men that I work with every single day is really special.
It's an NFC Championship game. No, this is what our focus is on right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. And being professionals, you got to be able to make that switch. And our switch is you got to focus on the Philadelphia Eagles and getting the job done.
We know going into this game that whoever defense plays better is going to win the game. And, the way we've been preparing, we won't change nothing that we do. Everybody just go out and just be themselves.
For players and coaches, the NFC Championship game represented a chance to reach their ultimate goal. For fans, it meant the opportunity to see a lifelong dream come true. And they would not miss out on their chance.
Just how hot are Eagles tickets to the NFC Championship game right now? Let's say you wanted to go to the link on Sunday. You logged onto the computer this morning to make your purchase for the Birds Vikes, got settled in at 10 a.m. You wanted to see Nick Foles try to lead the Eagles to their first Super Bowl trip in 13 years, only third all time. Wanted to be in that stadium for the 6:40 kickoff with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. Well, by the time I finished reading this, the tickets were already sold out. Under 30 seconds. You think that building won't be rocking come Sunday at 6:40?
A major storyline going into this game was a pair of starting quarterbacks that were once teammates with the Rams. Many had given up on both Nick Foles and Case Keenum, yet here they were on center stage.
I know this is what all you guys predicted back in the day. It was a Foles versus Keenum NFC Championship, so good job to all you guys that predicted that.
He's just a good enough athlete that you have to worry about him running around, but you also have to understand his receivers are just good enough to make him look good when he throws a bad throw. And that's it in a nutshell.
The Eagles' defense was recognized for getting the most pressure on quarterbacks in 2017. Case Keenum was the third most pressured quarterback on the league in 2017. And Case Keenum, in most cases than not, answered the question. So if you get to him, yes, you can rattle him. But he has also shown when you come after him, he can make you pay.
You just always got to believe, and you always have to prepare. And I know being around Case, I know he does an amazing job preparing and working and just being a great team player. And then, sometimes things happen where, unfortunately guys get injured and you have to step in and, it's your job to lead the team. And, he's really done an amazing job. It doesn't surprise me. And, that was my job stepping in for Carson to lead this team like I have before. And I think the big thing is you just have to constantly prepare and make sure that you're watching every single rep. Whenever, if you're the backup, you're watching every rep because eventually, if you do go in, you're going to be glad you did.
Nick's a great guy. One of my best friends. Really, really solid guy. Great faith. Great family. He's got a great family. My wife and his wife are great friends. His entire family is good people. Great football player. Prepares well. Extremely talented. Big arm. He's really, really athletic too. So, I know he's got a lot of confidence, and I'm looking forward to playing against him.
With a pair of unproven QBs and the top two defenses in the NFC on the field, many expected a low-scoring slugfest.
When I look at this, it reminds me of the old saying, defense wins championships. And I don't know that either team will win the championship, but, these are two of the best defensive teams in the league. So it's good to see that old school football back in the NFL.
But overall, they're solid. There's all 11 guys that they line up, and even the guys they bring into play. I mean, they are all solid players. Hardly ever out of position. Always in position to make plays up front. I think, really, really talented group, man. They disrupt the run and the pass really well. So, we got our work cut out for us getting the ball out and running the ball. So, other than that, I could sit up here and talk about them all day. But you look at their stats, and they kind of speak for themselves. They're a good defense.
If someone told you back in September that the Eagles would have one home game against a Case Keenum-led team with a chance to go to the Super Bowl, you'd probably take it. But that Case Keenum-led team is pretty deep, very good this year, #1 defense in the NFL. This is going to be a tough challenge for the Eagles. It's going to come down to the defensive lines. Who wins that matchup? The Eagles defensive line versus the Vikings offensive line, or the Vikings defensive line versus the Eagles offensive line?
This is big boy football. Bring your big boy pads. This is NFC Northeast football, January. The Eagles, you've heard me say it before, they're the biggest team in football in a lot of ways. And I do expect them to want to try to impose their will once again.
The experts may have been calling for a tight game, but you couldn't accuse Eagles players of being tight.
You can really sense that this is a big game for the limited part of practice we're allowed in. I thought Nick Foles, with the throws we see, it seems like he's very confident. The players said that after practice. But I think you can really tell the team knows it's a big game, but they don't seem uptight. They, had the music blasting today. They're running around. They're laughing. They're joking. You can see the energy from the big game, but I don't think they're letting it get to them just yet.
Nobody really expected him to be able to do this without Carson Wentz. Nobody at the beginning of the season expected him to do it with Carson Wentz.
You acknowledge the outside influence. You acknowledge that the crowd is going to be louder. The stage is obviously bigger. The consequences are larger. Your season is done if you lose, and you're advancing to the Super Bowl if you win. So the feeling is going to be magnified on either spectrum after the game. But what happens in those 4 hours on the field is all the same. Yeah. Like I said, the field is the same distance, the ball is the same size, the rules are exactly the same, and so what wins or loses is exactly the same.
It's been a crazy journey. We're blessed to be in this game. It's been a wild ride this season. We've had, so many things go on, so many guys step up, so many injuries. The guys who are injured have done an amazing job of staying around the building and being a huge part of the heartbeat of this team. We're always playing for each other. That's our strength as a team, is we're playing for the guy next to us, playing for the guys who got injured. We're playing for the city. So you're not playing just for yourself. Part of you got to play for yourself. You got to have that heart, but you got to play. Our strength comes from each other.
The players weren't the only ones who were feeling loose, as Philadelphia rallied once again to support their underdog Eagles.
What do you think about the Eagles being underdogs again at home, this time in the NFC Championship game?
I don't see that.
You don't see it?
I don't see it.
They are. Right now, it's, I believe, 3-point underdogs to the Vikings.
Love your numbers. I don't believe it.
Speed of lightning, roar of thunder, fighting those who rob or plunder. Underdog, oh, underdog, underdog.
What do you make of the Eagles being underdogs again at home?
It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Not in the history of the NFL has one home team been the underdog, and they're going to give it to us again. The Vikings are going to come in here. They're not going to know what to do. We're going to put Case Keenum in his grave. You have no idea. Yeah, we got Nick Foles. He's a game manager, but we got the defense. We got the run game, and most importantly, we got the fans. We're going to go all the way.
Two former Philadelphia champions could see this Eagles team had what it takes.
It's going to be some beating it to the body by the Eagles to Minnesota. And once we kill the body, the head will go and fall. So we got to attack their strength, break that down, and then capitalize on our strength and expose their weakness as soon as possible.
When you have a team that's doing well, like the Eagles, that are on the verge of trying to make it to the Super Bowl here this weekend, everybody's excited. And this town has always been a football town, first and foremost. So, like, with what we did, it kind of helped open the door a little bit more for baseball. But I think if the Eagles can go out there and win, you're going to see something even bigger than what happened when we won.
Ryan Howard wasn't the only former baseball MVP to show his support for the Birds. Millville's Mike Trout was on hand for the NFC title game, and he could not have liked what he saw earlier.
He is floating it deep for Kyle Redruth, and Rudolph makes the catch for a touchdown. That drive was much too easy.
But from that moment on, it would be all Eagles as player after player brought in by Howie Roseman this past offseason impacted the game in a dramatic way.
He's hit, and it's intercepted. It's picked up by Robinson. Touchdown! Patrick Robinson! The rush came from Chris Long.
Yeah, give the pressure to Chris Long.
This time the handoff is the blood. Up the middle. To the ball. He's in! The train! Go loose. Eagle hat. Barnett made the hit. Long with the ball. Made the hit. Long with the ball. He is going deep and alone and into the touchdown is Jeffries!
Everyone contributed to the Eagles' blowout over the Vikings, but one man took center stage. The same man who had been counted out just a few weeks earlier. It was Nick Foles' night.
Foles back, he looks, he fires, and it is caught deep in the end zone by Jeffries. Touchdown!
Well, Nick Foles looks tall and very comfortable in that pocket.
Words can't really describe what I feel right now. I said out there, all glory belongs to God. I mean, I wouldn't be here without any of that, and just I'm grateful and humbled to be a part of this team, to be in this moment, to share it with our family, our fans, all the people that love the Philadelphia Eagles, this franchise, my teammates. It is honestly unbelievable.
Foles' performance put the Eagles and the city of Philadelphia in position to party.
For the first time in 13 years, the Eagles are headed for the Super Bowl and a rematch with the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52.
Earl Reese, pack your bags. We're going to Minneapolis. 3, 2, 1.
Everyone doubted us. Everyone is out there talking and denying us, man. There's no more denying. There's no more denying us.
Woo! We're going to the Super Bowl.
The celebration was not limited to Philadelphia, as Zach Ertz's wife Julie found out following a U.S. women's national team win in Denver about her husband's accomplishments.
Emotional for me. Elsie's here, obviously. Tough not having her here, but I can't wait for her to get home, celebrate with her.
There were many personal moments to be had on this night as families celebrated what had been accomplished by a team that displayed resiliency and toughness at every turn.
It's euphoric. I mean, I'm just happy for everybody in this building, for this community. I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs over the years, and it feels good tonight. Just to get people, smile on their face, get people riled up. I got through watching a little bit on TV. I don't know what's going on outside, but it's a riot. So, I'm just happy.
It's kind of surreal, I love coaching this football team. I love coaching those players in there. It's a tremendous feeling. Quite honestly, I mean, it just really hasn't sunk in. I mean, it's and the thing is about this team is, all the adversity and the negativity or whatever that surrounds the team. These guys don't listen to that, and I don't listen to that, and they come to work and practice hard every day, and they love being around each other, and that was part of 2 years ago when I came was having that type of culture in the building where people enjoyed coming to work, and our players and coaches really enjoy that, and they love being around each other.
It's been an incredible year. We've been through a lot, as has every team, I guess, at this point in the season. But to consider the guys that we've lost, and to consider how we persevered and maintained, the ability to win football games. This is a special group, and it's been an outstanding year. We got one more.
To be able to give those fans, something that hasn't been done since '04, to get back to the Super Bowl, and then now we're gonna go out there and we're gonna try to finish the job.
I'm so proud of this team, the players, the coaches. The adversity we've had to deal with is, to me, is just almost unprecedented with key players. Really important players that are just, key to the way we operate, and yet we've been able to function at a very high level, focused. I mean, it's a credit to Doug, the coaches, Howie and his staff in terms of the roster and people he brought in. It's something very special.
The thing that stands out to me about this team is and it's an overused term, but it's real when you see it, and that's chemistry. I mean, the chemistry on this team, the feeling these guys have for each other, and their sense of purpose, and the way they go about their business, they really are greater than the sum of their parts.
Everybody on this team contributed. There was no one individual star. There's a lot of teams that look for stars to lead them and to make the big plays. Everybody on this roster throughout the course of this season has made plays. And when the frontliners have fallen, everybody has stepped it up and made even more significant plays.
Now, the time has come to turn their attention to the Super Bowl and a date with New England Patriots. It's a mission the Eagles intend to finish the right way.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. I'm just glad to be in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's anybody's game, and that Patriots obviously been there for a long time. I think it's time for them to be dethroned.
I cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart, I love every one of you coaches, players, personnel, the entire organization. The amount of work that has gone in to what you have accomplished this season, and guess what? We are not done yet. We got one more football game to play this season. One more game. Okay, we play this game to play on the world's biggest stage. We going to the Super Bowl! Let's go!
Hey man, you're gonna hear it all the time. The phrase "we going to the Super Bowl" come, man. We ain't just going. We going to win. Yeah. We done put in all this work, man. Not to just get here and celebrate, man. We going to win. Yeah. Everybody in this world has talked bad about us and doubted us, and all we did was stick together, man. Love each other, have fun playing. Let's go, man. 1, 2, 3.